While loops. They're a part of a program that repeats. It has two parts: an expression that's tested for a true or false value. So if we look at the syntax on line 12, that'll be this part right here, and a statement or block that repeats as long as the expression is true. This is the syntax or basic format that you can use when you're doing a while loop. How it works is that the expression is tested. If it's true, the statement will be executed. The expression is continuously tested until it reads false, and then no more will the statements be executed. The loop header is the first line shown in our format. The statement that's repeated is the conditionally executed statement. So it executes but on condition. Notice how there's no semicolon after this first line, only braces, so that the statements inside of here are executed because of this. Each repetition of a loop is called an iteration. So every time we check out this statement, it's going to iterate. It iterates every time, and we'll look more into that in this example that I have right here in a second. The while loop is a pretest loop, meaning it tests the expression before each iteration is run. The while loop will not iterate if the test expression is false to begin with, and it stops if it's false later. Infinite loops are bad. They're really bad. They're loops with no way of stopping. It continues to repeat until the program is interrupted, which you do not want an infinite loop, because it will run. It will run forever. Don't use semicolons where they're not needed. Don't forget to use starting and closing braces in your loop, and make sure you have a way for your loop to eventually end. You can use the while loop for input validation, so it's used to create input routines that repeat until acceptable data is entered. Think of input validation. It's the process of inspecting data given to a program by the user and determining if it's valid. It'll repeat until the program gets data that it's happy with. Think of like terms and conditions. The terms and conditions, the while loop can say the header, the test part, is going to see if you've read all the way at the bottom. And if you click yes, it'll loop back if you haven't checked something at the very bottom. And it'll continuously loop that statement. If you click yes, then the while loop is satisfied, you can break out of it and go to the next page or like next line of code. That's pretty much all for the while loop. In the next video in that playlist linked below the like button, we're going to talk about the do while loop. It's a little bit different. It's kind of the opposite of a while loop while still being the same. Lastly, this is an example that I just wrote out for you really quickly, and you can see that it's going to print out numbers 1 through 10. It starts at x is equal to 0. We have this x plus plus, so right after this is called, it's going to increment to 1, and it's going to run as long as x is less than 10. So that's going to be it for while loops. If you have any questions, as always, leave them in the comments below. And don't forget to check out that playlist. And don't forget to check out that like button either.